Good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm Kelly Knapp.
And I'm Lee Barrows.
And bringing up the rear, it's Rayford Brown. How are you?
We're doing
We're
good.
doing good.
You know, Rayford, I just thought of something this morning.
What's that?
It's like you're Charlie and we're Charlie's Angels.
Yes.
Did you ever watch that show how Charlie
I
always
did.
called
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
said, "Okay, Angels, your assignment for today is."
Yep.
That's like having you call in every day.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that. Whatever.
Okay.
Yep.
Hey, he had some right nice angels on his side.
He did.
Yes, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Who was
you
your
have
favorite?
um
I had, believe it or not, my favorite was Jacqueline Smith.
I think so too, because she always
Mine
just
too.
seemed
Mhm.
to be tough.
Yeah.
And
More
well, yeah, she was a quiet talent.
Mhm.
And one of her
Ke-
commercials after Charlie's Angels was very subtle.
Mhm.
You need to know how when to be not too much of a lady.
right.
I forgot the exact tagline, but it was something along those lines. I actually was in a movie with Jacqueline Smith.
Oh, do tell.
Yeah, Windmills of the Gods.
Mhm.
She was a she was a star, of
I've
course,
seen that. Mm-hmm. It's based on a
I
book.
don't know that it went anywhere except TV.
Yeah, it was
Probably not.
TV. Yeah.
But I see it passing by every now and then,
Mhm.
and I have about 7 seconds. The back of my head was in it as I'm shouting questions at her, along with a guy named Douglas Kiker. It's his fault that I was in this movie. He was a veteran reporter with NBC News at the time, and of course I was in Wilmington, and the producer for the movie called me and said, "Hey, I'd like to use one of your live trucks and a crew out here as part of just a production, yada 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 yada." And I said, "Absolutely not. We don't have time for that kind of stuff." Well, Kiker called me, and he went on one of those little tirades like reporters can do,
Mm-hmm.
because he knew me, I knew him. And I said, "All right, Doug, for you, I'll do it." And sent out there. I said, "But I got to meet her personally." He said, "Oh, not a problem. She's easy to meet, easy to talk to." So I did, and got out there. Of course, I had a tie and coat on, one of the very few times that I would. So they put me in the movie to act as one of the reporters, and they gave me $20 bill for it. Hallelujah! I got rich.
Yep.
So anyway,
Hmm.
it was kind of fun. And somewhere around this house is floating a VHS copy of that movie.
I've seen the movie. Yeah.
Well, back of my head is she's walking out the front of the building. I think her husband had been killed or something, and he was an ambassador, so she was taking over for him. And the back of my head, you will see that, and that's about it. Kiker's doing most of the questioning. We're all firing questions at her, but he's the one that's mic'd up. So, whatever.
I may have to try to find it and watch it just to see the back of your head, Rayford.
Yeah, you'll have to look
Yeah.
closely because my
Okay.
hair was a little bit different in those
Mhm.
days, slightly different color.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
like that picture you showed me of you much younger,
Mhm.
and you had like all this hair and it was dark. I didn't recognize you at first.
You talking about the beard?
Yes,
That was all fake.
that's right, and that was your undercover days, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's when I was buying dope.
Mhm.
Bad boy. Oh my
Hey,
goodness.
we just heard on Fox News there. If you haven't been paying attention this week to the news, what was initially thought to be an act of vandalism can be related to a nationwide attack on our power grid, as we're learning now. Last Sunday, much of Moore County in central North Carolina plunged into darkness. Turned out that more likely more than one, idiot with a gun virtually destroyed much of two power stations, causing more than 40,000 homes to be without power in Moore County. And until yesterday, it remained pretty much the same. Some areas were restored over the week. And by last night, most people had electricity. Not all of them have electricity this morning, but they're getting there. This is not an act of vandalism. I want to explain that to you. This is not an act of vandalism. No more so than planes flying into the Pentagon and the Twin Towers and a crash in Pennsylvania on 9/11 were weather-related accidents. We learned of a federal law enforcement memo that is warning, ready? Power stations in Oregon and Washington have reported physical attacks on substations using hand tools, arson, firearms, and metal chains, possibly in response to an online call for attacks on critical infrastructure. The memo said the aim is to cause widespread power failures with the potential impact of social disruption and violent anti-government criminal activity. In recent attacks, criminal actors bypass security fences by cutting the fence leaks, lighting nearby fires, shooting equipment from a distance, or throwing objects over the fence and onto the equipment. Okay, when you folks, we all pass these things. If you drive around Onslow County or
Yeah.
surrounding counties, you drive around. Do you know what a substation looks like?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Got a bunch of
Mhm.
transformers there and a bunch
Mhm.
of wires, big, heavy wires
Mhm.
coming in and going out. If you see people or vehicles there that don't have those flashing yellow lights in the middle of the night, call 911,
Yeah, I
report it
agree.
as suspicious activity.
Mhm.
If you don't, we may be dark.
Yeah.
Time for us to take a stand before there is a concerted timed attack on our infrastructure and our way of life. I can see this happening. We've been warned about it for years. The terrorists are not going to stop with 9/11. They've been coming across the border in droves. We know that. We've caught a bunch of them and turned them back. When you catch one, you miss a dozen or whatever the number is. They're not armed with guns in most cases. That's going to be the homegrown terrorist here.
Mhm.
But these are the people that can set fires, cut through the fences, and this throwing chains across the power lines. When you've got 25, 30,000 volts hanging around out there, and you just start tossing heavy duty chains over them, yes, you're going to blow stuff up.
Mhm.
We have got to put a stop to it one way or the other.
Yes, we
And
do.
it's going to be up to us. I mean, the power companies have got their hands full just trying to keep us all with power on a regular basis, from car crashes to, whatever nature. They got their hands full. They don't have enough security. So the rest of us need to take a look, be vigil, okay?
Well, I think that people need to be understanding and not have a head in the sand approach on what would happen if a nationwide blackout, for example, as a result of this would occur. And I
You know
brought
what?
Lee in a copy of my DVD
Yes.
this morning. It's from National Geographic. They did it a couple of years ago. And if you have not seen this, I'm gonna take a picture. I took a picture of it, Raven. I'm gonna send it to you, but I'm gonna put it on our Facebook page. You can get it off the movie off Amazon. I ordered it. It's a DVD. This is probably the most realistic depiction of how society breaks down quickly with something widespread like this. And it talks about how terrorism, this would be the next way of widespread terrorism in the United States. This would be how they would do it. And it's done as almost like a movie. It follows, but it shows realistically what would occur. And it talks about how many times in the past, even in like Texas and other states, where power grids were on a low level, like a test run.
It's a test run.
Yeah. But I highly recommend everybody watch this because it talks about, people's homes getting broken into for people stealing food. And, you can't get gas. You can't get it's dark. People being robbed,
And you ain't going to
attacked.
charge your electric cars.
You can't do anything. Yes. If you have an electric car, you're out of luck completely.
Totally SOL,
Yeah.
guaranteed.
But it's very, very informative. I made my kids watch it. I've made my family members watch it. I'm like, you seriously need to watch this because it is, and it's not meant to scare, but as an educational tool. People can't go on this, living in a fantasy world, have type mentality of it will never happen here because it will. You have to be prepared. And I don't mean, act like a survivalist and build a bunker in your backyard and all that stuff. I mean, if you want to do that, good on you. I know somebody's done that and I'm, good on them for doing it. But at least be aware and be knowledgeable, especially maybe the next, couple of months, because, I agree with you, Rayford. I do think Moore County was a test run. And we now know it happened in Florida last month. Now
Florida,
we're hearing
Washington
and Oregon, last month. I mean, if you don't think
they're
these
hitting
groups are
all
not
corners
spread
of the
out,
United States.
yes,
They're going to all corners just to
yes,
prove it can be done. Now,
correct.
here's what I want you to think about.
hmm
What month is this?
December,
What comes up in December?
Christmas.
Christmas.
And New Year's.
Yep.
Yes.
hmm
What would happen? How would we deal with it on Christmas Eve?
We'll be eating peanut butter sandwiches for Christmas. I know that.
Well, I won't be, but
No.
yes.
Yeah, that would be that would be horrific.
hmm I mean, and
And why would they not do it? They're not a religious group of individuals.
no, they have, it's intimidation, it's fear, and it's control. And for some of them, it's almost like a power trip, so to speak. No pun intended with that. But
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be vigilant, and and I would suggest, I've talked to a few people, and they were telling me, they're stocking up on stuff. Don't broadcast that you're buying things in bulk. But
No.
don't do that, because I'm telling you right now, the very first thing that's going to happen, and heaven forbid something like this actually happens, people are going to remember, and people you think are your friends are going to turn on you very quickly. And desperate people do desperate things in terms of, because it's survival. If you don't have any food, and that Rayford's stocked up on all the canned goods in the world, everybody's going to be trying to get in the Rayford's house.
If you guys ever have a chance to pull down and do a binge watching, or you can download it as it goes along on some of the Prime channels and whatever, a Twilight Zone episode
Mhm.
from the 1960s. A guy, because we were in a Cold War and we were, facing possible annihilation from bombs, right? The bomb, the biggie. A lot of people were building fallout shelters or rooms in their
Posted.
houses that could be used as fallout shelters, as did this family. Everybody laughed at him. Everybody kept partying, everybody except him, and he got it already. Then the word came. A bomber was on the way. Missiles were on the way. The United States was going to be under attack shortly. He put his family in his bunker, his fallout shelter. People broke into his house, tried to break into his shelter, where he had enough food stored for he and his family. They had not heeded the warnings. And then it was dog eat dog whirl. And then after the 30-minute show, it was approaching the end of it. Very dramatic. Then they got the all clear. And then they all started apologizing to him. Oh, we're sorry. They called him really nasty names, and they were trying to break in, and they were going to kill him.
My goodness.
Mhm.
Well, I've posted the information on our Facebook for anyone who'd like to take a look at the movie.
Okay, so you did. So I'm going to delete
Yes.
mine. Okay.
American
sorry.
Blackout, right?
Yes.
Mhm. I sent
I
you
was
on Skype, Rayford, the picture
Yeah, I
of the
got
DVD.
it. I had looked up last night, just Blackout, and there were
Yeah.
about 400 of
Yeah.
them.
This one's called American Blackout.
Yeah, I see it.
Mhm.
It's a National Geo piece.
Yeah, National Geographic did an amazing job on it's very eye opening, and it really gives you pause to think. And from a counseling standpoint, I can tell you that in times of crisis, people's reasoning ability and often goes away, because you go into survival mode.
Yep, absolutely.
And if you don't have access to food or whatever, you're going to do whatever you can to feed your family. Bottom line.
Coming up this morning a little bit here, about 15 minutes or so, 14 minutes, we're going to have Onslow County's new sheriff going to be in the house, going to be joining you ladies there, Sheriff Chris Thomas. So that'll be interesting. We'll hear from him. A man with extensive background, federal, state, local, all sorts of cool stuff. So he's the man that is in the right place for the citizens of Onslow County. I can tell you that. It's also a common sense guy. I've known him for about 30 years or so. And then at 8 o'clock, we're going to have former Onslow County Commissioner Jack Bright, also another top cop. He was I knew him way back when as a police officer, and he served the county well as a county commissioner. And the last 6 years, he was the commission chairman. Well, he resigned. He stepped down a week ago, a little less than a week ago. We'll talk to him about that and just about the outlook, what's coming up, what he's seen happen over the years, and what we can expect perhaps here in Onslow County for the future, because I'm sure he has some ideas. One thing I want to get to there. A lot of cops have responded to suicide calls. I mean, it comes with the territory, unfortunately. To say it's an unpleasant call, you just don't know. As often as not, the victim's family is on the scene, making it even more difficult for the police officer. Regardless of what the family says, regardless of the initial observations, the scene must be secured until an investigation determines that the actual cause of death and the circumstances show it was indeed a suicide and not a murder. In the United States, some 23,000 people shoot themselves every year. There are a lot of people who fear that they will at some time kill themselves. Kelly probably deals with them.
Yeah.
There's a movement underway that will allow or encourage these individuals to surrender their Second Amendment rights. That's scary. Democrats have seized this opportunity and want legislation passed that would remove forever and ever and ever a person's right to possess, purchase, or own a gun who has surrendered his gun and surrendered his Second Amendment rights, even though it may be temporary, a typical backdoor anti-gun movement, no doubt about that. There are people who have periods of depression, right, Kelly?
Yes.
Perhaps because of the loss of a loved one, a domestic breakup, even maybe a medical event. For one of these folks to voluntarily surrender their guns is understandable. A year or two later, perhaps with the proper treatment, some of these folks may want to become normal again and even own a gun. Under the Democrat scheme, ain't going to happen. 23,000 firearms-related suicides in a year is awful. 3 times that number die from fentanyl overdoses every year. Let's do that one more time. 3 times the number of suicides by gun in this country die from fentanyl overdoses every year in this country. Another 33,000 die from meth overdoses. Hello? You can remove guns from suicidal people even if they give them up. But if he or she is determined to take their own lives, actually determined, it will happen. Intentional overdoses of prescribed opioids, car crashes, and any number of other means will still see a lot of suicides in the U.S. One more thing, I told you that 23,000 people shot themselves last year. That was about 1/2 of the more than 47,000 total number of suicides.
Sad.
Again, the Democrats are doing everything they can to grab the guns, regardless of how good or bad their cause is. And it's pretty disgusting. Shame on them. Better take a break, right?
Yes.
Yes.
You're live and local, Real Talk Freedom 97.1, 1120 AM, WSME. Weather is coming up. And
All right,
we're
we're
back.
back.
If you guys are in the mood or the ready to buy a boat, or think you might be ready to buy a boat next year, you might want to pay attention to right now. Listen up. At Tideline Marine right now in Jacksonville, there's a brand new Aquasport 230. That means it's a 23 footer. It's a Pro Bay boat with a Mercury 250 horsepower Pro XS. It is in stock now. There's some special stuff. I'll talk to you about that in just a second. There's also a new Aquasport 2100cc. That means it's a center console with a Mercury 200 DTS in stock, ready to go. And there's a new 2100cc, again, center console, Aquasport with a Mercury 200 horsepower waiting for you. Now, here's the deal. $5,000 off any one of these three boats. Boom. Right off the top, taking off $5,000. And that's a huge savings. It's a great savings right now. But when you think about next year and the additional price, there will be a price increase. The motor and boat manufacturers have already said so. When that happens, it's going to be a little bit harder to order a new boat and save any money. It's just going to be tough. The demand is out there. So do it now while you can. And if you buy it in December, buy it now before Christmas, you get $5,000 off. In addition, if you want it delivered to your driveway for Christmas morning and you live within 30 miles of Tideline Marine, it'll be there with a bow wrapped around it. George promises that. So good deal. Tideline Marine, 159 Old Bridge Street on the banks of the New River in downtown Jacksonville.
And we have a small craft advisory in effect from 10 a.m. this morning through Wednesday afternoon. Today, north winds 10 to 15 knots, becoming northeast 15 to 20 knots with gusts up to 25 knots. Seas 4 to 6 feet, dominant period 7 seconds. Adjacent sounds and rivers with a moderate chop, increasing to choppy. Tonight, northeast winds 15 to 20 knots with gust up to 25 knots. Seas 5 to 7 feet, except 2 to 4 feet near shore. Dominant period 7 seconds. Friday, northeast winds 15 to 20 knots with gust up to 25 knots, seas 5 to 8 feet. And Saturday, northeast winds 15 to 20 knots with gust up to 25 knots, seas 5 to 7 feet.
Today, mostly cloudy, high of 66. It looks like now we're not going to get the rain they said we were going to get. Tonight, mostly cloudy, low of 47. Tomorrow, only a slight chance of rain now. That's changed as well. So mostly cloudy, high of 57. Tomorrow night, mostly cloudy, low of 42. And on Saturday, partly sunny, a high of 57, but a little gusty on Saturday. So
and no rain. Wait a minute, we're in a drought. We need some water.
Yes,
well,
we do.
We're not getting it.
We do.
Yeah. Like a 30% chance, which means we won't get anything probably.
There you go. Let's call for a snowfall. Want to? I think
Do
about
it.
15 inches would be good.
Go for it, Rayford.
Not
No,
during
it's
a
not gonna
blackout
happen.
either.
I know.
Hey, we have Sheriff Chris Thomas in the studio. Good
Yay.
morning. And how are things going for you now? How does it feel to wake up every morning and be the sheriff of Onslow County?
Well, it's been a busy week. Had a lot of stuff going on this week, along with the swearing-in ceremony Monday night.
Yes,
So,
it
been
was
really
packed.
busy. Yeah, I don't know that it's really quite set in with me yet, but it is slowly.
Yeah, I know you're going to be a busy man now. You thought life was busy before. It's really busy now. Go ahead, Rayford.
Good morning, Sheriff. I guess you're now the guy really saying you're where the buck stops now, right? Regardless.
Apparently so. Yes, sir.
That's a tough position. You've been in a lot of tough positions in your law enforcement career. You've been a chief deputy a couple different times. You've been with federal, state, and other various local law enforcement agencies. You got a extensive career behind you.
Yes, sir. About 36 years total.
What does that bring to the people here in little old Onslow County?
I think it brings a lot of experience. I have a large network of people that I can contact if I need any assistance with anything. If we don't have something resource here in Onslow County, I'm pretty sure I can find it or find someone who has it pretty quickly. So I think the experience itself is the biggest thing it brings.
You know, I used to say that a lot about other professions that I've been in. I said, it's not what I can do or what I have available to me. It's who I know that I can call and count on.
Yep, and know who to call.
Yeah, that's it. So that's always a good thing. I'm sure you've had 4 or 5 days now since you were sworn in. that a lot of folks have come forward. Any big surprises?
No, not any big surprises. We planned out the ceremony that we did Monday well ahead of time. A lot of the things going on this week, we were aware were going on. We're slowly getting into budget season with the local government, so we've been working on that this week as well.
Yeah, nothing personal, but my wife won't let me get into big crowds right now.
I can understand that, and it was a big crowd. So
It was packed.
I got a little ways to go before I can get out there and do all that sort of good stuff again. But that's why I'm not there. I'm isolated.
It's good to hear you, though.
Well, I appreciate
I'm glad things worked out well for you.
Yeah, so far so good. Some amazing people out there, a whole heap more smarter than I am. I can tell you that, and I'm glad of it. Okay, some issues here in Onslow County, law enforcement wise. We can tackle them. I've already talked about a little bit earlier in the show. Fentanyl. How high does that rate as far as our big problem arena?
Well, fentanyl, we've had probably close to 45 overdoses this year so far. And those are, and I'm not talking about folks who have been Narcaned and brought back. I'm talking about people who didn't make it, who died from it.
Really?
So, and most all of those are fentanyl connected. So
Okay.
I would rate it as one of the largest health concerns we have right now in this county. For that matter, the
45. How many homicides, murders have you had this year?
A couple, maybe. I can't count those. Most of the time now, when I hear about someone rush responding to a deceased individual, I look at the notes and kind of look at the age, and you can almost guess what it is. And for the most part, we're generally right. We deployed Narcan a lot. Of course, EMS has deployed it much more than we have, and it is pretty successful. But there are times it doesn't work, or you just get there too late.
How many repeat times do you see the same people?
It's not uncommon. I really can't give you a percentage on it, but we have had a few individuals that we had reported that they overdosed. Either EMS for us administered Narcan, or a friend of theirs may have administered Narcan, and then they would repeat that behavior the next week, and a week or so later we'd be there and they would be deceased.
Gosh.
So
I don't even know what to say here. Does maybe the sheriff of Onslow County need to join with the sheriffs of the border states and maybe add some men down there to try to stop some of this stuff from coming in? Because it's coming in primarily from the southern border, right?
Yeah, that is where it's coming in. There's very little there to stop it. I don't think the federal administration right now cares about it, but that is where it's all coming from. And the precursors used to make fentanyl is actually coming from China. It comes from China down to Central America, and that's where they manufactured into fentanyl and whatever other drug they're manufacturing, and it's brought up the southern border through the general smuggling routes that the cartels use.
Now, I know in Onslow County and probably the surrounding counties, you and Sheriff Buck and Sheriff Hughes and others in the area, y'all have been working for quite some time. I know Sheriff Miller worked with them as part of a regional drug operation, anti-drug operation. I'm assuming you're going to continue that?
Absolutely. Currently our drug unit is, we've added individuals to it. We continue to try to address the issue by adding resources to it. We have a task force with NCIS. We're one of the few agencies that I'm aware of that actually has NCIS stationed in our office. That they're not on the military base. They're in our office. We work close together with them every day. We have a task force partnership with the FBI Safe Streets Task Force, which is a gang drug task force. We also have a detective assigned to the Drug Enforcement Administration Task Force. So we are approaching it from an enforcement angle as best we can with all the resources that we can put to it.
Okay, other criminal activity, things that affect me, probably drug related or whatever. People stealing my guns, people wanting to break into my house, people wanting to break into your house or whatever. That's probably on the rise. And is it all based upon somebody's needs for dope?
Well, most of those crimes are driven by drug addiction or drug use. probably our most frequent crime, and it comes in kind of spurts during the year. We're getting close to the Christmas season, and it's probably going to start
Yes.
spiking again now. But that's car break-in and larcenies. When they'll go through the neighborhoods, these large neighborhoods, and they'll get on foot and they'll walk the neighborhood in the early morning hours, and they'll pull door handles. If the car opens, they go in it, they steal what they can steal. If it doesn't, they leave and go on to the next car. It's a very preventable crime. If you just hide your expensive belongings or take them out of the car, take the keys, lock the car, you generally won't have any problem with that. But if you leave it unlocked with items in it, you have a chance of it getting stolen, particularly in these larger neighborhoods. And you would be shocked at what people leave in an unlocked car.
That blows my mind. I agree with
It
you.
does.
But it is mind blowing the stuff people leave in cars. I just cannot fathom it.
And don't even hide it. I mean,
No.
I've walked by cars in some of these neighborhoods and looked in, and you can see a handgun laying on the console.
Good.
What
Or
a
money,
moron.
car.
money laying in
Money,
there.
Yeah.
computers, cell phones, just
Mhm.
any number of valuable items.
Mhm.
You can prevent it yourself. Just hide your belongings, lock your car, and take your keys.
Why?
I know, got a particular case a couple of years ago. A bunch of cars were broken into, including yours truly, and a lot of stuff stolen. But then it came time for the trial, and only one of the individuals he pleaded guilty to reduced charges, and he got a suspended sentence, a little nothing, slap on the wrist. And to me, possession of a gun, possession of a stolen gun, stealing a gun, that is kind of serious stuff, isn't it?
Well, most of the crimes that occur with firearms is a stolen gun that they use. It's not an individual who actually bought it legally, according to the law. So I believe that anybody that does steal a gun and uses it in a crime, they should face the maximum penalty.
I think it should be a felony, but that's just Kelly's opinion.
Well,
I think it should be a felony.
I like
and,
that.
and not reduced.
It is a felony.
Well, it is a felony if
Yeah.
you steal a firearm, and it's a felony if you're a previously convicted
Correct.
felon in possession. But and it's probably a better question for the district attorney to answer. But I do know the court system is underwater horribly with cases.
Yep.
I know their ADAs have hundreds and hundreds of cases assigned to them, and it's difficult to get them to get all this stuff through court.
Well, here's the other thing. This is opinion, and I would like to have the district attorney here to ask him because, okay, now this is how I think. So if you are continuously meting out the maximum sentence allowed, not reducing, not slap on the wrist, theoretically, some people aren't going to commit the crimes because they know if I do this, I'm actually going to go to prison. And I think a lot of times why we have an increase in crimes is because people know they're getting a slap on the wrist or getting probation for the 10th time or getting their charges reduced or dropped completely. So there's no expectation of having to be accountable. So why wouldn't I commit a crime?
Well, I mean, I've arrested people before in past years for drug charges or gun charges, and arrested them and on charges, federal charges, and they would be repeat offenders that have been continually violating the law, and it was a concern to them. They may have been angry or upset about it until they found out they were going to federal court, federal holding. Then it was a whole new ball game for them. They were very concerned.
Yeah, because federal
terrified
don't.
because they knew they were going to go to federal prison.
Mm-hmm.
But quite frankly, the difference is the U.S. government takes up the cases it wants to take up.
I know.
The state, we investigate cases. We try to present the absolute best case we can to the DA for prosecution, and then they have to put it in the stack to prosecute. So there are times that taking appropriate pleas. I don't believe in giving cases away. I don't believe in just consolidating 50 or 60 breaking and enters into one charge and giving you probation. That's not appropriate at all.
No.
But they have to try to find a fine line between moving the cases through court and divvying out the appropriate punishment so they can keep the court system going. And again, that's a better question for District Attorney Ernie Lee to answer than me. But I do understand that problem with it. But it's very frustrating to law enforcement when we're arresting the same person over and over and over.
I know it is.
So,
I have a client that's been in and out of prison most of their adult life. I mean, serious prison, not serious crimes, not little misdemeanor things. And they actually made a statement to me a couple of weeks ago that things are getting a little tough for them. So they don't have a problem committing an armed robbery because they think they're not going to get much punishment out of it. I mean, they don't fear it, and they will use a weapon.
well,
It's sad.
it's a little bit that way here, but I
Mhm.
know some of the big cities across the country, there's no deterrent at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right.
Yeah, this
They don't
person lives
care.
here.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Fortunately, here though,
Mhm.
we do have a pro law enforcement community,
Correct.
and that does work to our benefit. But if you look at the cases in court, I'll use a recent plea that we had in a homicide case, Anthony Young.
Mhm.
Anthony Young killed an infant.
Mhm.
He was in
Yes.
jail for almost 7 years, I believe.
Oh, wow.
It was one of the early on homicide scenes that I went to when I came to the sheriff's office.
Mhm.
We just put him through court. He pled guilty. He got life in prison without parole.
Nice.
He went in weighing like 150 pounds.
Mhm.
When he was sentenced, he had gained over 100 pounds.
Good.
Oh, my.
He has been sitting in jail
Mhm.
doing nothing for 7 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it
Y'all
was
are feeding them too good, Sheriff.
no, well,
Cut back on those calories.
but he did. The point is, I mean, he sits there for that whole time. There's no exercise,
Right,
yeah.
other than him walking the block
Mhm.
in the day room area or the day areas for the cells. And it just took that long for that case to get through.
Yeah.
And that's not an exception. I mean, Adolphus Kimmer's still there from the Mariah
Mhm.
Woods case.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's still.
Yeah.
we keep a
actually-
watch on that.
Yeah,
don't
we ask about that
Yeah.
one quite
Well,
a
I
of
bit.
course,
talked
you
with
had-
the
you-
talked
The
with
courts
the
had the
district attorney
pandemic.
about
It
that.
closed down the courts for a year, so that was an
Yes.
issue as
Yeah.
well.
Well, I talked to the district attorney about that case, and hopefully it'll go in the next 8 months or something. Hopefully
Hope so.
sooner, but
Yes, I hope so
they-
too.
they're working on it. It just takes a long time to get the cases through.
You know, back in the old West days, things went like within a week. And I guess with due process now,
They
you
hung
can't
'em.
go that quick, but there's got to be like that balance. Maybe not within a week, but certainly should not be 7 years.
No,
I mean,
no.
seriously,
No,
there
it
is,
shouldn't.
and do start having a night. We got rotate the judges. And have a night court. You
Yeah,
get
night
cases
court.
out. I mean, seriously, there's got to be ways. They do it in bigger cities. Have a day and a night court if you want to get rid of some of these cases.
Well, that's the scheduling by the judges.
I know.
So,
I know.
And then, of course, that would also cause the clerk of court to have more people. That would have to have the sheriff's office to have more people just to man the courts. Better take a break here. You're live in
Yes.
local Real Talk Freedom 97.1, 1120 a.m. WSME. We'll be right back. a special guest in the studio right now is Sheriff Chris Thomas. Sheriff, the future. I mean, let's take a look down the road here. What you going to do for us?
Well, we got a lot of stuff going on now. The county and the city of Jacksonville, we went together earlier this year and went in on a new CAD and mobile data terminal and records management system together, trying to save the citizens some money by doing a joint
Great.
project. And we've got that going on. That's a huge project that's taken a lot longer than we thought. We're also trying to keep up on the new law for law enforcement, to have an early warning system for officers that may have issues with use of force, things of that nature. We've got that coming online as well. And like every law enforcement agency in North Carolina, I believe we're struggling to find qualified candidates. We're struggling to find
Sure.
candidates for our detention center, and our sworn deputy side is the volume of qualified candidates is not there. It seems like nobody really wants to pursue this as a career like they did back when I started.
Right.
We've got all sorts of issues happening across the country, and like you say, a lot of them involve law enforcement officers. They catch a bad rap. Defund the police, do this, do that. Cops are nothing but bad people, yada, 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 which we all know is not true, not the vast majority. We don't seem to have that here in Onslow County, and I think that's a blessing.
Well, we're not immune to things occurring here, but I'll say in this country, on average, every day, there's over 800,000 law enforcement civilian enforcement actions. So when you're there, be stopped for a citation, or you may be called to take a report or something of that nature. And out of 800,000, how many do you actually hear about that something
That's very
has been
true.
done wrong?
Good
So,
point.
it's not an epidemic. It is an occasional occurrence, but we have to stay diligent and keep track of all those incidents, and try to make sure that we weed out the folks that should not be in law enforcement.
Yeah, well, I like what you're doing, and I like what Sheriff Miller had done, and the things had changed, and I think the sheriff's office here became a very professional organization, law enforcement
I
wise,
agree.
over the last 8 years or so, and I'm looking forward to the next 20 years or so you're going to serve.
I'm hoping to be around a long time.
We hope so too. I think the
Better take a
voters
break.
got this one right.
Better take a break. You're live at Local Real Talk. Don't go away. We'll be right back. And Sheriff Chris Thomas is with us in the studio. Sheriff, a couple of last questions here for you. I know you've got a lot of work to do. What do you look at for the future? What are some of the priorities that you want to tackle, that you
Well,
want to deal with in the coming months?
Trying to keep up with the population growth, and keep our response times down and make sure we provide the service that the community deserves, but also addressing the drug issue, to continue to address it. And I mean, on a larger level than just the enforcement aspect. We're doing a medicated assistance treatment program in the detention center. It finally starts up in January. We'll actually be moving and doing that. We've got our DARE program slowly getting turned back up. COVID almost killed. Actually, COVID did kill it. We were trying to get it back up and running. We've got some classes going now with one of our SROs, and meeting the security of the schools. January, we will have an SRO in every school in Onslow County, from elementary all the way to the Onslow County Learning Center, the OCLC alternative school. We have 2 SROs in a couple of the schools. We're trying to meet that challenge, and also looking at trying to address the gang issue that seems to be becoming more and more prevalent here in this area.
Okay, regarding school safety, some issues have come up, and some people are saying you need a metal detector at every entrance. Practical, impractical, possible?
In a couple of schools, it's probably practical. You look at some of the very new schools they built, like Dixon Middle School. It's a one-way in, one-way out type school. It's all in one building for the most part. So I guess it would be doable there. We don't have the resources to man the metal detector, so that would be something that the school would have to do, as far as having someone operate the device. But you look at schools like Jacksonville High School, it's strung over across the city block.
Yeah.
I don't think they make enough metal detectors to cover all of those classrooms and the personnel it would take. I've had some folks say, well, you can have teachers operate it. Well, the teachers are there to teach. I don't think that shouldn't be a primary duty for them or concern for them, really. So I would say for the most part, it's impractical in the older schools, but more practical in some of the newer schools.
I have a question for you. A week or 2 ago, and I don't even remember how long it was now, there was an incident in which a deputy was struck on the bypass.
Yeah.
How is he doing?
He's doing good. Had a lot of public comment have been come up about that. Like, why did the deputy stop him on the bridge? Well, the deputy tried to stop him near the intersection of 53 and 24, which is down there at Dell's Plaza, which is a long ways from the bridge.
Yes.
However, the driver, being intoxicated, he did not cooperate. And by the time he finally decided he was going to stop, he was on the bridge, and he not only stopped in the far left median on top of the bridge instead of the right median, he was partially in the lane. When the deputy first approached him, he was trying to get him where he would be in a safe place, but due to the condition of the driver, he couldn't move him. He walked back to his patrol car and sat down to do some work on his radio and let dispatch and know what was going on. And as soon as he sat down in the vehicle, a vehicle rear-ended him, which caused him to rear-end the driver and pushed the deputy all the way across the travel lanes onto the far right side.
We're like,
So he
Actually,
frightening.
everybody's lucky in that case.
Yes.
Every effort was made by the deputy to stop the guy before the bridge.
Right.
But he was driving was to the point that he could not allow him to keep going. So he had to try to stop him where he got him stopped. So
And the deputy wasn't seriously hurt, correct?
he was banged up. Anytime you get hit at a high rate of speed from the back like that, it's but he's back to work.
Oh, good.
He's
That's what I
back.
wanted to know. Make sure he was okay.
He's a good deputy. He's one of our shift sergeants, actually.
Right.
Well, I have a quick compliment that I want to give to the sheriff's department. Sheriff's office. I'm sorry. It's Old Habits. Old Habits. Sheriff's office. Yes. Back last month, I was out picking up campaign signs in Sneeze Ferry, and I had to pull off the road, of course. So I pulled off the road, went, got the sign, put it back in my truck, was getting ready to start up, and I saw a deputy come down, make a U-turn, and come up beside me. And he's like, "Ma'am, is everything okay?" And I said, "Yeah." I told him what I was doing. He goes, "Well, I just wanted to check on you, make sure everything was good." And I really appreciated that.
I like that.
That was really nice. No, he was just a young fella, and I meant to call. with a compliment on there and say thank you. But you know, that made me feel so good.
I like
Really
that.
did. Thank you so
They're-
much.
They're supposed to do that. Yes.
Yes. I'm impressed. I like it. We have a good
Yes.
sheriff's office here.
Yes, we
and
do.
a good group of deputies.
Yeah.
So I've actually had the privilege of going out because of our state grant. My agency does a lot of partnership with the sheriff's office, which I'm very happy about. And I got to work on one of the DWI checkpoints with them, and that's a good group of guys.
Yeah.
Good group of guys. And they take it seriously, which is a good thing. And it was
Absolutely.
a slow night, which is a good thing, but still for that particular one. But they were very professional, and I witnessed some stuff that I didn't realize they encountered. That's a dangerous job to be doing these
is.
checkpoints. People don't realize, because at one point this car just came barreling through the checkpoint and they didn't stop.
Yeah.
And they almost hit two of the deputies. It was scary. I mean, we're off to the side, so we were not in harm's way, but those guys were. And it was scary. And they're like, oh, this happens all the time. How do you not see the flashing light? There's speed bumps. Like that car launched over that first little speed bump. It is the most outrageous thing. And I give these guys props. They don't get the kudos they deserve for the stuff they have to encounter. Because I'm telling you right now, I witness things I never thought I'd seen. They do not, I know they're not paid enough. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that for what all they have to encounter. I mean, my hat's off to them, because they have to deal with a lot of nonsense.
You got to be on your toes anytime you're standing on the highway.
Oh, it awful. Yeah. You got a good group there.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Sheriff, we appreciate you taking time to
Yes.
come in this
Yes,
morning.
we
I know you
do.
have an extremely busy schedule,
Mhm.
doing a whole lot of things and dealing with a whole lot of individuals out there, as well as your own staff.
Yes.
Yeah,
Please
thanks for
stay
coming in.
safe. Please stay safe.
Thank y'all. And Rayford, I'm glad you're doing better, and hope to
Thank
see
you,
you
sir.
in person soon.
Yeah, I will be there in person soon.
Yeah.
All right. Take
All
care.
right. All right. Let's
Taking
take
a break.
take a
Live
break.
and local, Real Talk Freedom 97.1, 1120 AM, WSME. Fox News is next. And right after that, Jack Wright is in my studio, in the satellite studio, the bunker. We're hidden from everybody. We'll be right back. Don't go away. All right, we're back live in local Real Talk on Freedom 97.1 on 1120 AM, WSME, and in the satellite studio, also known as the bunker, and in some people's terms, the ham shack, because that's what all these radios are behind me over here. We've got Jack Wright, former Onslow County Commissioner. He was a county commissioner a week ago at this time, and then he decided, I don't want to do that anymore, or words to that effect. No, Jack, welcome aboard.
Thank you, Rayford, and good to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking time to come in. I know things have been, a lot of people have probably attacked you or approached you or done whatever and said, what are you thinking? You abandoned us.
Well, they have actually called, and they were all well wishers and hoping that everything was all right. I resigned for family reasons and for health reasons, and I do have a health issue that I've got to deal with. And it's not a serious issue, but the recovery time is considerable for that type of procedure. And I didn't want the board to be without a member while I was out. If I had been out extended period of time. And it would have created a 6-member board, which would have been some possibility of tie votes. And January, is a time that we start our budget process with the county manager with $280 million plus budget. Staff and management needs guidance from the board, and I thought it would be better since we had the organizational meeting coming up the Monday before I stepped down. So I thought it would be better to let somebody else take the torch and run with it and take over the operation as the chairman and let the board choose who they wanted for their chairman and their vice chairman. I'd been the chairman for 6 years in a row, and all except 1 year was a unanimous vote by all the board members. So I'm really honored and proud of that position, and I did the best I could through those 6 years to hold it together. And
Sure.
and I've got a brand new grandson,
Yeah.
Yes.
and my daughter, that's the second one, and they have been relocated here from Offutt Air Force Base out of Omaha to Seymour Johnson Air Force Base.
Closer.
So yeah, we're talking about an hour and 15 minutes versus 22-hour drive time or a 5-hour plane ticket. That's totally expensive now. But anyway, I didn't want my new grandson. She named my new grandson after me, and
Aw.
I didn't want my grandson. If I'd have gone back and went back through with this thing Monday and stayed on the board, there's a possibility I would have put this surgery off, and I can't afford to do that.
Can't do that.
It's I wanted to be around for my grandson. I want my grandson to know who his grandfather is and who he was named after. So I wanted to be around for that. So that was kind of the reason for it in a nutshell. I tell you, when I turned in my paperwork and cleaned out my office, I felt like I had 1,000 pounds lifted off of my shoulders. It was like getting out of jail, so to speak.
Imagine.
Yeah.
I can relate to that to a certain extent. It is sometimes just a breath of fresh air going in a different direction. It is cool, and if you don't have quite so many obligations, it's always nice.
Well, I
did
wanted.
not see you not staying in touch and being involved.
Well, I wanted to end that particular chapter of my history. I started out born and raised here on a farm in northeastern part of Onslow County up near Maysville. Had a Maysville address, but lived in Onslow County. Got out of school and immediately went to work with a retail business and worked myself up the ladder to that retail business to manager, and did payroll and did all the things that you do as a manager, manage your personnel. And then I decided that after I become of age to get on the Jacksonville Police Reserves. Did that for a year or so, and then Clyde Cook, he
encouraged you.
He asked me. He said, "How about signing up for full time?" I said, "Well, I might do that, but I had to take a $500 a month pay cut, and that was a lot of money back then."
Sure
So
was.
anyway,
All right.
signed up. 30 years later. Retired in 2000, immediately got elected as county commissioner for Onslow County. I taught at the college, for 22 years, Coastal, James Sprunt, Cape Fear, the Justice Academy in Salemburg. All the community college, I taught law, motor vehicle law, accident investigation.
Probably radar.
Radar. And I was the breathalyzer instructor for breathalyzer. I actually had, I believe it was in 1986, I actually had Chris Thomas as one of my students. And
Oh, really?
out here at Coastal. I vaguely remember Chris, but I had him in driving school, and of course, the other classes I taught. But
Sure.
as far as I know, he must have been a good student because you only remember the bad ones.
Yeah,
True.
I understand. I think we got a caller. Who's this?
Yeah, Roy Smith here. How you doing?
Good morning.
Hey, don't have a lot of time, but I just wanted to say to Jack and the county, he's been such a huge asset to Onslow County, and gosh, he worked so hard as chairman, and he taught me so much. I just really appreciate his time, and I hated to see him go. So,
Well, thank you.
That's all I got, Jack. We hope we'll see you around.
Well, thank you for that, and I appreciate those kind words. And I'll be watching you guys.
I know it. I may have to call you for some advice. So I hope your phone line's still open.
Oh yeah, I kept the same phone number, so don't hesitate to call if you need anything.
Okay. Well, thank you. You have a good day.
You're gonna obviously you wake up in the mornings now, and you don't have a whole lot to do other than your normal stuff anymore.
I have done stuff and things that I put off for 6 years, at least 6 years, and I feel like that I can go out and get my hands dirty and not have to run and answer the phone. I was having right around 54, 55 phone calls a day, not necessarily from county business, but from constituents or be other county commissioners. And sometimes when we had issues that I needed to notify commissioners about individually, I would call each one of them individually when I could, and playing telephone tag with 6 other people and trying to fit their calls back into mine was difficult. Board members, you have to, as a chairman, of course, the chairman only presides over the meeting. That's all. We have no authority at all. And a lot of people call and say, "Well, I thank you for what you did, and I appreciate what you did," but I really didn't. It was the board action. I was just a chairman. Of course, the chairman gets the accolades for doing good stuff, but he also gets accused for anything that goes wrong.
Oh, yeah, regardless of what anybody else does, right?
Oh yeah. So you have to know and I never asked a board member to vote a certain way. Any of them will tell you that I've called them and talked to them about issues, but I never asked them to even vote for me for chairman. I never asked them to vote for a particular item. I would give them the facts, or Sharon would give me the information, and then I would, present the facts. But you have to know your board members. You got Royce Bennett, that was ex-police officer from Morehead City. He's in real estate now, got a local business. He runs a business. He's got all kind of connection with the nonprofits like the Rotary and those organizations. And then you have Paul Buchanan, veteran law enforcement officer, a veteran military, served in Vietnam, got a Purple Heart when he was on the sheriff's office. He's got so much history in his mind about county government. He's been a commissioner longer than I have. And then Tim Foster next to him. Tim's with the school system, knows education. You have to know these guys and know what their specialty is. And when you have that type of input, it's easy to call on them and say, hey, Tim, what's going on with the school system? What do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? And you can get information. And then on my left side was Robin Knapp. Robin, veteran, disabled veteran also. I mean, he's had issues with being in service. Not only that, being a federal law enforcement officer and being in the Air Force too, in the military. And man, he knows how to put a pen on a piece of paper and write stuff. He can write and communicate with the public. So he's got good trait. Mark Price, another educator that was very good at what he did. And he's sports minded, and Parks and Recreation was his specialty in a way. He could tell you a lot about that. He was really a conservative commissioner. I mean, if he had grease fittings on his wallet. So when he opened his wallet, the hinges wouldn't squeak so bad.
Timmy, good morning. How are you?
Timmy there.
Hello, Tim.
Yeah, I'm here. Good God, the bright man is in town again. What's going on, Jack?
Good, Tim.
I can't hardly hear you.
Good, Tim. I could. How is it now?
It's a little bit better. It might be me. I'm down here at the beach trying to hide. But I just want to tell you, I've known you for years and known you a lot of years. And I may have been against you some, and I was for you a whole lot more than I was against you. But I always had a deep respect for you because of just what you said a while ago. You gave some history because I had somebody say there's too much law in on the county commission. I said, well, wait a minute. Jack Bright was a businessman before he was a police officer.
Mhm.
I said, that's what my daddy said.
That's
and
right.
I said, he knows business too. And they, I said, well, look. I said, this is all I can tell you. I said, years ago, when I met Jack as a county commissioner, I said, we were having problems at the permit and inspections office. I said, a group of contractors got up with Jack, and they sat down and they aired their problems. Now, all of you know, you got code enforcement. You also have insurance, and insurance does a lot of ruling too. And we had our liability insurance had a clause in it about using something. The inspection department uses something that we own, and and they say, if he goes up your ladder and falls, your insurance is liable, not the county. So Jack and it was Paul was there, and they came up and implemented. They got ladders for the inspection guys. But now I laughed at it because they were airing out all this, and Jack was just sitting there looking at him like, well, I never heard this in my life. And he looked at me and said, what do you got to do with it? I said, I dig in the dirt. That's all I do. They don't need the ladder for what I got. And you laughed. I said, I'm just here because I was asked to be here. I said, it's fine, but it is good to meet you. But, Jack, I appreciate what you've done. And I don't know if you heard me what I said the other day.
I did.
Rayford's got my phone number. Yeah. And if Rayford's got my phone number, you put it in your phone. And if you need me and I can help you, I'm a phone call away, buddy. And I appreciate what you've done with this county. I really do.
Well, I appreciate that, Tim. And the thing of it is, like I was just elaborating to Rayford, a lot of the things that I did, it wasn't me, it was a board action, because you have to have 4 votes to get anything done, Tim. You can't.
Oh, I understand.
You can't act as an island and get anything done. You got to have support from the board, and I have been very blessed to have the board members to support me on issues or support the staff and management on issues that we needed to address. It's it's really we have a lot of issues that the county is going to be facing, and we're going to have a solid, strong board to push those items through. And I don't, I would say this, Tim, the last 6 years that I served as a chairman, I would say I don't have the exact numbers, but I would be willing to place a bet that 99% of the items on our agenda we had a unanimous vote on. It was a solid unanimous vote on just about every single item. There's some people got their mindset on other things, and they have values that they're going to stick with no matter what, and I totally respect that. And and they knew I respected that. So when we did our vote, if they didn't vote with me on issues, or if any of them didn't vote with me on issues, after the meeting was over, we slapped each other on the back and moved on our separate ways, and we moved on to the next item.
From what I watched,
I appreciate what you did for the hog farmers in Oslo County. Some of them were having all that trouble, and you and the commissioners got up and y'all voted on, to protect,
We did.
For the
we did a
hog farmers.
resolution in
When you
support
did
of
that, and when you talked about the aquifer, I was tickled to death when you said that. About what the aquifer water, it would take 400 years. Nobody knew that. Nobody had researched it. Not the powers that be, but I thank you.
Well, I appreciate it, Tim, and if there's anything I can do in my capacity of whatever I'm involved in, please give me a call. My number is absolutely available.
Oh, I know, and I like I said, I appreciate. Well, Paul can tell you. Paul's known me for many, many years. I don't like to be hounding county commission. I've had issues before, and Paul has called me. Said, Tim, why didn't you call? I said, shouldn't have had to call you. I should be able to handle it on my own, and I did. He said, well, I know how you are. I said, yeah, I handle it on my own. And I said, that's right. I shouldn't. You're there to govern the county. You're not there to satisfy me in particular. You're there to help Onslow County run smoothly. You're there to help the majority of Onslow County keep everything going. And that's what you're there for. You're not there for me to run up there and pull your ear and say, I need this and y'all ought to do this and y'all ought to do that. I do my voice. My biggest voice is one I do. And that's what I tell people. Y'all got enough on your plate without sitting somebody like me aggravating you.
Well, we really appreciated people coming up for public comment and speaking about issues. A lot of times, the things that folks were talking to us about or speaking about, we didn't have control over, but we still listened to the folks, and maybe it's something that we could pass on to the people that did have control over. There's always an avenue for people to vent their grievances about anything as far as county government.
Hey, Timmy.
Well, I just want to call in and say thank you, brother. I mean, you go on and have you interviewing your day. I appreciate you going into it as a private citizen now, but I appreciate what you're doing. I just want to say that.
I appreciate that. Thank you a lot.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. I'll see y'all later. Rafe, be good.
Yep.
And if you want my number, give it to it.
Roger that.
I see y'all.
Bye. Jack, you did say something before we go into break. You did say something about the votes were quite often unanimous.
Absolutely.
But that did not come without discussion. I watched a whole lot of those votes. Yeah, there were people, they wanted to know more about it, your fellow commissioners. So it did not just willy-nilly, Jack's in favor of it, so let's vote for it.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Here's what I would do. Let's say that you were a fellow commissioner, and let's say we had an item coming up that may be controversial. I would call you as Rayford. I say, Commissioner Brown, we've got this issue coming up that you may want to call your people and research, find out what you want to do with it.
Good.
And then I would say, well, here's what I have found out. Here's my information. Here's my investigation. And then I would tell them, I may say, well, I support this particular item or I don't support it. But I would say, Mr. Brown, you do your own research and you make up your own mind. So when it come time for the commissioner meeting, we didn't have to sit up there and go cold on items that you could have investigated. So you had the opportunity to investigate. The only one that I didn't call that much in the last few months was Walter Scott. Walter Scott seemed like he was an expert, self-appointed expert on every item. So when I called him, he'd say, well, I know about that, or I've done that before, or I've been there and done that. So I didn't, he seemed like he knew all about the issue. So I didn't waste his time.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Somebody like that, I guess, right?
Yeah. I guess you need somebody that's expert on everything.
I'll explain to you what an expert is when we take a break here. You're live and local, Real Talk Freedom, 97.1, 1120 AM, WSME. We'll be right back. Okay, down at Tide Marine right now, they got some special sales going on for Christmas time. Already told you about 3 of the boats down there. They got some sales on. So run on down, check it out. While you're there, I know you go to Christmas parties. You get invited to go to a Christmas party, a cheap old bottle of wines, Christmas parties, or anything else. Why not take a little trinket that they can actually put on the Christmas tree now? They don't have to wait till next year. They can stick it up there today and and enjoy it through this Christmas season. Tideline Marine, 159 Old Bridge Street, on the banks of the New River in downtown Jacksonville.
And today, north winds 10 to 15 knots, becoming northeast 15 to 20 knots with gust up to 25 knots, seas 4 to 6 feet, dominant period 7 seconds. Tonight, northeast winds 15 to 20 knots with gust up to 25 knots, seas 7 feet except for 2 to 4 feet near shore, dominant period 7 seconds. And Friday, northeast winds 15 to 20 knots with gust up to 25 knots, 5 to 8 feet except 2 to 4 feet near the shore.
Today, mostly cloudy, a high of 66. Tonight, mostly cloudy, low of 47. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, high of 57. Tomorrow night, mostly cloudy, low of 42. And on Saturday, partly sunny, finally some sun, with a high of 57.
Nice.
Yep.
Not a good time to go out boating, though.
Oh, well, it depends upon if you got the right boat. Not a big deal.
Yeah, you got a
We can do
big
that.
one, sure.
I think Jack's here. He's ready to buy a boat.
Rayford, we have a caller.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
caller.
Who's this?
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Rayford. Good to hear you, Jack, Kelly, Lee.
Good morning.
Hey, this is Robin. Good morning. Hey, I just wanted to call in and say, Jack, we're going to miss you. I want to thank you for everything that you've done. When we first came together, when we were first newly elected, you looked out for us. You had us all in a meeting and explained, what to expect being a BOC member, and you kind of walked us through the process and walked us through the budget somewhat to give us a good idea. And I looked at you as a mentor, as a friend. We talked every day. I know I've blown your phone up many times asking you this or that or sharing some thoughts and ideas, but I really appreciate what you've done. You've given a lot to this county, not only in the law enforcement field, but as a county commissioner. And I wish you the very, very best. God bless you. And stand by, because I'll still be calling you. You know that. I called you since the organizational meeting, I think, several times, and that's going to continue because that's how much I value your wisdom and your knowledge and our friendship. And I just wanted to say thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Robin, for saying that. And I really have appreciated the camaraderie that we've had. And I think I mentioned it earlier, but you're sort of like the Mark Twain of the board. You know how to put ink on a piece of paper and make it make sense. And during the pandemic, you were reporting to the folks about the situation with the cases that we had that were positive and the death rate, and just carrying on with the information that I seen where a lot of people actually responded to that and said how much they appreciated getting information about it. We were facing an unknown enemy with the pandemic and coronavirus, and we needed as much publicity about the issue as we could so people could try to protect themselves the best they could.
Well, I just want to also say, and I thank you for that, Jack, but I wanted to also say that, since we came to the board in 2016 and ever since then, we always stress, and I know you stressed it, and the board members stressed it as well, as be as transparent as we possibly could be. And this board, this administrative staff that we have in the county, they've tried to do that, and they tried to be as transparent as possible, even though when people disagreed or didn't think we were putting information out there, and you never really try to interfere with that. You push that transparency, and I appreciate that. And I just wanted to wish you the best, and I just want to wish you and your family, Godspeed, and I hope everything goes well for you during your surgical procedure, and I'm sure it will. But again, my heartfelt thanks, Jack.
Thank you so much. And a lot of the credit should be conveyed to our county manager. Our county manager was the first week that she was in office. I got more information and emails from her about issues that were coming up than I did the whole year with the previous manager. Not saying that that was a bad thing, but it's good for the commissioners to know what's going on in the heartbeat of Onslow County, because a lot of times we as commissioners get calls from citizens, and it's really difficult to say, well, I don't know, I'll have to check on it. But as much information as you can provide to folks and it's at your fingertips. I mean, the county manager spent a lot of time making detailed reports to us about issues, and she didn't send it just to me, she sent it to everyone. So everybody had the same page that they read about that. So I commend her for not only working that way with communications and transparency. I commend her for getting us to the point that we had a 28% fund balance. That's almost unheard of for a county our size, a 28% fund balance when the LGC only requires 8% fund balance and mandates a 8% fund balance. But we have to have that healthy fund balance, not only for the schools and stuff that we have in the bill, because our population has basically exploded, but we have to have money for hurricane recovery. That money that we have to spend for cleanup and for damages, that has to come out of the county tax, the general fund. And as you know, we're 4 years away from the last major hurricane, and we still hadn't got all of our money from FEMA yet. They've provided a lot of that money, but they are really slow. And I've talked to Congressman Murphy about this, and he's working on it. And I think Congressman Murphy just got if I remember right, he just got a bill passed for the military mandated vaccines. I think that went through. And so it means that you guys, now that you guys are there and I'm not, you guys are going to have to carry the torch. You're going to have to establish communications with state, local, and federal authorities and make things work, make things happen. There's grants available, and we've got a tremendous staff with Ben Warren, Sherry Slater, and the finance director, the Parks and Recreation director. We've got Tony Paget, vehicle maintenance, animal services, stream cleanup. It's just a tremendous 27 different departments. And sometimes I wonder if Miss Griffin don't try to pull her hair out, trying to figure out how to be on top of all those things.
Well, I remember, I just wanted to say one last thing. I remember those days when we had to make a decision for a county manager, and we made the absolute right decision for a county manager. And I echo your thoughts on her and her staff. But again, let me get off here, Jack. I know they have some other questions. I just wanted to say thank you. I'll be in touch, and God bless you, brother.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
Jack, there's a vacancy on the board. It's been there for almost a week.
Yeah, I heard about that.
3 weeks to go.
I heard about that.
Or somebody better be doing something, or the state will do something, right?
Well, the vacancy by law, by the new law, has to be nominated by the local vacated party.
Right. That's the Republican executive.
So in this case, the requirements is that the person that's seeking that position has to be a registered Republican. They have to be a resident of Onslow County, and that's the only requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Once that nomination is made and presented to the county commissioners don't the way the law reads is they shall
That's right.
appoint that person. That's the way the law states. It was different a few years back, and it could have been anybody nominated by the Republican Party if that was a vacated seat. And then the commissioners had discretion on who that.
Whether they even choose that person or not.
Yeah, they could have went
They
out.
chosen anybody.
Yeah, so that law got changed, and the Republican Party now will have a meeting Monday to determine what procedure they'll go with.
So there are two basic procedures here, as I understand, right? It could be more.
Well, there's two procedures. They could go with the last primary, which
was the May primary,
and look at the people that was on that list and pick somebody off of that list
who would like to be.
Well, the person that was the highest vote getter below the Royce Bennett was Mark Price. In that case, I forgot the vote spread. It wasn't very much,
But he doesn't, even if they offered it to him, he doesn't have to accept it. They can pick somebody else.
They could move down the list to the next person.
Okay.
Or they could open it up to everybody, which if they open it up to everybody that was a registered Republican, then that would include those people that was on that list, and it would include other people that was not in the primary.
How important is it that the executive committee take a look at somebody who can work with the existing board of commissioners?
Well, I hope that they'll look at that closely, and I hope the people that vote for it will look at it closely. I know that there was a couple of people on that list, and it was brought out on the show, on your show, about one of the candidates that totally violated the campaign finance law. I mean, it's a serious offense, and if he gets called out on it, he's going to have to pay a penalty for it and a price. And that's Mike Cayley.
Yep.
You brought that out on the show,
And we certainly did.
And I think that was a few months back. And
nothing has happened.
It's not only a violation for somebody to take cash like he did, but it's a violation for the ones that give cash if it's over $50,
Mm-hmm.
and that could be detrimental to the people that's looking at this when it gets a chance to be investigated by the state.
So the executive committee could have egg on their face if they did the wrong thing.
Well, if they opened it up and didn't vet those people properly or present that person properly, I think they could get blamed for putting the wrong person in.
Yeah.
And we don't need somebody in now that's just got an axe to grind, or we don't need somebody in. I never had a particular reason for running other than I just wanted to serve the people. I didn't have any issues with anything the county was doing right or wrong. I just wanted to serve, and I got elected, good or bad.
Let's take a break. 910-333-0139. Okay, we've opened up a good couple of kegs of worm. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Jack, this has been a wonderful time. Got a question to ask you though.
Yeah, I just knocked them off.
Are we are we headed in the right direction here in Onslow County? I think.
Yeah, if the current board stays on track with what we were doing with the that we have, and we had a workshop, and I went on the show a few months or a month or so back when we had the workshop. We have a lot of things we're having to address right now. The senior services building, 2 items is already paid for with ARCA funds. There's no general funds or no local tax money. A lot of people say, well, that's still tax money, but
It is, but
it's
somebody.
it's still, if we didn't use it, somebody else would have got it and they would have used it. But we need those 2 buildings tremendously. We got to redo the fire station. We got to build another fire station in Bear Creek. That one down there is just too small and don't serve the community like it should. And we also use that as a voting poll for Bear Creek area. EMS stations, our rescue squad trucks are sitting idle in parking lots, running 24 hours a day instead of being housed and giving the people that sit in them a little break. So we're going to do a couple of those that, or I say we, the board's going to have to look at building those out and getting those vehicles off the road and saving those. Recreation building over at Onslow Pines Park is getting to the point it's too small to handle all the parks and recreation activities, renting spots for the use of the parks and all the baseball, little league balls, and all those folks have a place to meet. So there's a need to build a new building for that. And about and I always was on edge every time news come on and they say, well, we got another system out here.
Yep.
And
So was I.
it seemed like Rayford, it seemed like that Onslow County had a target on its back for a long period of time. And if you got a storm out there, you say, well, get ready, it's coming here.
Yeah.
A lot of times
acted like a magnet.
A lot of times it didn't, but I am really thinking that the county is in good shape now financially. It's in good shape with the management team. It's in good shape with Tim Foster being the chairman. I think he's going to be able to take the ball and run with it. I think he's going to be able to carry the torch. And I hope that he'll be able, and if you work hard with working with the board members, I think you can get a lot done.
Well, I implore the county's Republican Party. I am not a Republican, as you know. I'm an independent. I get to hate everybody equally.
Good Lord.
Yeah, but anyway, I know there's a faction of malcontents, people who want to do it their way that have absolutely, in my personal opinion, nothing good for the county.
Well,
am I right or wrong?
Well, there is a faction and there is a group of people that wants their person in that they can control. And if they get their person in, whoever that may be, that they can control, then they can potentially they can potentially control the board and can potentially control the budget and all those things. I would advise this new board now, and when they get their new person come the end of this month, hopefully that they'll pay attention to all of these requests from nonprofit organizations. There's a lot of nonprofits that's got some agenda items that they want paid for that they will profit from. So we need to be mindful that those people are out there and those organizations are out there. They want funding and they want the county to pay for it, but then they would profit for it. So I think we need to be mindful of those and, go through them with a fine tooth comb, let them apply for it like everybody else and see which one is the best fit for Onslow County and see what those organizations can do that the county can't do.
Ladies, I've hogged this whole show, this whole segment here. And I didn't do it too intentionally, but
It's okay.
No,
why
A
don't we
lot of
take
good stuff
breakfast?
came out of it.
Well, there's some things that came out of here that it didn't surprise me.
Well, I'm
that
glad
Jack
it
opened up
did.
so easily with it.
I'm glad it did. But first of all, I just want to say thank you, Jack, for all the years of service that you've given to this community, starting with being a police officer and out there protecting us all. And then once you got involved with the Board of Commissioners, working your way up to chairman for the last 6 years, I mean, I have totally respected the job that you have done. Kind of got teary-eyed a little bit earlier when Robin and Royce were singing your praises, and sad that you aren't going to be with us anymore as chairman of the Board of Commissioners. But thank you for everything that you've done.
Thank you, Lee. And it's been an honor and a pleasure. And I'm very humbled to have served. And hopefully this board can get in there and do the work that we need done and do it the best of their knowledge. And as long as they do the best they can with what they got, I don't think anybody has a real axe to grind with them. But it's been absolute pleasure for me to serve. I was actually on I was the president of the Swansboro Chamber too during a period of time, and I was also I sat on the hospital authority board for a number of years.
Busy man.
And I've already had some calls from folks wanting to know what my next chapter is, but I'm holding those cards close to my chest right now.
There you
You'll
go.
come on here and announce them when they're available.
That's
I
right.
think it's good that Jack's wanting to spend time with his grandkids too, because at one point they were, he was having to fly to England, so now he's a lot closer.
I
So,
absolutely
I think it's good.
understand. Sometimes you just have to, even
Heck
though
yeah,
you have to walk away from it all and
Yeah.
just have time for yourself and your family.
absolutely.
Well, you know how difficult it is, Kelly, to
Mhm.
get on a plane
It
and
is.
then fly to Atlanta,
Mhm.
and then from Atlanta to London.
Yep.
And what's involved there? We had like a 3 or 4 hour layover in Atlanta,
Yep.
but by the time we got on the plane here and time we got off the plane in London was almost 24 hours later.
Whew.
Yep.
And that's a long trip to go see your brand new grandson.
Yes,
Yep.
certainly
And-
is.
All right. Final comments after the break. You're live in local Real Talk. Don't go away. We'll be right back. And we're back, and I understand we have a caller. Who's this?
Tim Foster, good morning.
Hello,
good
Mr.
morning.
Commissioner Chairman. How are you?
Doing very well this morning. I'm not sure if Mr. Bright is still in the studio.
Jack is sitting right across.
Fantastic. I just wanted to call in and say, Jack, I sure do utmost respect for you and admiration for you and what you've done and what your leadership has been here in Onslow County for many, many years. And what you have done has left a very large legacy and some very, very big shoes to fill. And I look forward to trying to carry on some of the things that you have worked so hard on and bring to fruition in Onslow County. And this board hopefully be cohesive in what we try and do and bring some of those to the forefront. And your leadership has just been outstanding. And I hope that number will be the same it has been, so I can give you a call for some advice and some ideas.
Well, thank you, Tim. I don't have any intention at all from changing my home phone number or my cell phone. Actually, my cell phone number is the same number I had when I was on the police department in 1986. It's the same number that they gave me. 330-0123. I don't think you get much simpler than that, but I'm here for y'all, and you feel free to jump on the line and call me, and I'll be glad to.
Absolutely.
I'll be glad
You
to bust you out if you're doing something wrong.
That's right. And I expect you to pick up that phone to call. But we sure do. Sure will miss you. Already miss you. And I wish you all the luck in the world with everything that's going on. But most of all, enjoying that family and those grandbabies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'm surely going to do that. I have neglected to do a lot of stuff that I needed to be doing. And I'm trying to catch up at home now. And I'm getting there. And I want to, like I was telling Rayford earlier, I want to have my grandbaby, my new grandbaby, I want him to know who his grandpa is, and I can't do that if I don't take care of my health. And I think that's
exactly right.
I think
that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, I think that's the priority right now. And maybe when I get past all this, I can figure out what else I want to do. And you might see me at Walmart being a door greeter.
There you go.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Jack, I just wanted to call in and thank you for everything you've done and share with everybody my respect and admiration for you and looking at you as a mentor in these last 4 years working with you has been fantastic.
Well, thank you a lot. I appreciate that. And it means a lot to me for y'all to be there. And hopefully got the re-election behind you now, and you can roll your sleeves up and get to work.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I appreciate it. You have a wonderful day, and I appreciate y'all taking my call this morning.
Yeah, I appreciate you calling, Tim, and we're going to see you tomorrow morning. We've got you, and we got the chairman of the vice unit going to be in tomorrow morning. That is what the vice chairman is, right?
Oh, my word.
We will be there tomorrow morning at 7:30.
All right, Tim. Merry Christmas, Tim, and y'all enjoy the holiday, and say hello to that lovely wife of yours.
I sure will. You tell the family hello, and I wish y'all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year as well. Y'all take care. Bye.
Bye.
Take care, sir. And Jack, thank you for coming in. Thanks for spending some time with us this morning. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure being here, and thank you for the opportunity to come in and voice my opinion. I think I'm a little bit more free with it now than I could.
You certainly
could
are.
have been.
I love it.
Yes.
No plan to warning, and you don't have to kiss any butt.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
I like that. I like it. Ladies,
Yeah.
thank you. And tomorrow morning we do have Commission Chairman Tim Foster and Vice Chairman Robin Knapp in here at 7:30.
Oh, it's
And
going to
then
be
about
fun.
8:20 or so, we're going to be talking with Hans Miller.
Yes, we are.
Retired Sheriff Hans Miller, and talking county commission business tomorrow morning. How about that?
All right, sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, take care. All right, live and local, Real Talk, Freedom 97.1, 1120 AM, WSME. See you in the morning.